Hare Krishna, dear devotees. All glory to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Today we're hearing from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 14, text number 3. And this verse says, Mama Yunir Mahad Brahma, Tasmin Garbam, Dadam Yaham, Sambhava Sarvabhutanam, Tato Bhavati Bharata. The total substance called Brahman is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharata. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is an explanation of the world. Everything that takes place is due to the combination of Chitra and Chitragya, the body and the spirit soul. This combination of material nature and the living entity is made possible by the Supreme God Himself. The Mahatattva is the total cause of the total cosmic manifestation. And that total substance of the material cause, in which there are three modes of nature, is sometimes called Brahman. The Supreme Personality impregnates that total substance, and thus innumerable universes become possible. This total material substance, the Mahatattva, is described as Brahman in the Vedic literature. Mundaka Upanishad 1.1.9. Tasmad itad Brahma nama rupam anam cha jayate. The Supreme Person impregnates that Brahman with the seeds of the living entities. The 24 elements, beginning from earth, water, fire, and air, are all material energy, and they constitute what is called Mahad Brahma, or the Great Brahman, the material nature. As explained in the 7th chapter, beyond this, there is another superior nature, the living entity. Into material nature, the superior nature is mixed by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thereafter, all living entities are born of this material nature. Excuse me. Excuse me. The scorpion lays its eggs in piles of rice, and sometimes it is said that the scorpion is born out of rice. But rice is not the cause of the scorpion. Actually, the eggs were laid by the mother. Similarly, material nature is not the cause of the birth of the living entities. Excuse me. Okay. The seed is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they only seem to come out as products of material nature. Thus, every living entity, according to its past activities, has a different body created by this material nature, so that the entity can enjoy or suffer according to his past deeds. The Lord is the cause of all manifestations of living entities in this material world. 1 second. Now, I want to go over this verse and the purport because it's a lot of important information here. The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth. And it is that Brahman that I impregnate. That's what Krishna is saying. Making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharata. So, into the Brahman, which is what you would call the substance or the total substance of material nature. But the living entity is impregnated into that total material nature. And that is why there is possible to have births of all living entities. This is an explanation of the world. Everything that takes place is due to the combination of Chetra and Chetragya. Chetra means the uh, the uh, uh, the nature, and Chetragya is the okay. So Chetra and Chetragya, it means the body and the spirit soul. The combination of material nature and the living entity is made possible by the Supreme God Himself. The Mahatattva is the total cause of the total cosmic manifestation, and that total substance of the material cause, in which there are three modes of nature, is sometimes called Brahman. Can you get me some tissue?
Okay.
Excuse me. Okay, thank you very much. Good evening. All right, now we're better, much better. So, what is important here is the fact that the Brahman is referring to the total material substance. But from that total material substance, things are being born from it. But how are they being born? Krishna is impregnating living entities in that material substance. It's not the material substance is not the cause of the living entity, but the living entities are impregnated into the total material substance. Okay, that's why it says the the total material substance is called Brahman. It is the source of birth. And it is that Brahman that I impregnate. So the Brahman is the substance from which living entities enter into and are maintained. Therefore, it says, it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We're going to read this again because it's important to hear this very carefully. This is an explanation of the world. That right there is a very profound statement. This is an explanation of the world. Everything that takes place is due to the combination of Chetra and Chetragya, which means the body and the spirit soul. So everything that takes place is due to the combination of the body and the spirit soul. This combination of material nature, and the living entity is made possible by the Supreme God Himself. The Mahatattva, or the total material energy, is the total cause of the total cosmic manifestation. and that total substance of the material cause, in which there are three modes of nature, is sometimes called Brahman. The Supreme Personality impregnates that total substance, and thus innumerable universes become possible. This total material substance, the Mahatattva, is described as Brahman in the Vedic literature. Mundaka Upanishad 1.1.9 Tasmat itad Brahma Nama Rupam Anam Jayate. The Supreme Person impregnates that Brahman with the seeds of the living entity. Okay, so now we have the material cause is the total substance. And there are three modes of nature. And altogether, that's called Brahman. The Supreme Personality Godhead impregnates in that total substance called Brahman the living entities. And thus, innumerable universes become possible. Okay, I'm sorry. The innumerable universes become possible. This total material substance, the Mahatattva, is described as Brahman in the Vedic literature. So that is the explanation of the world, not the living entities, but the world. Then it says, the Supreme Person impregnates that Brahman, or that total material energy, with the seeds of the living entities. The 24 elements, beginning from earth, water, fire, and air, are all material energy, and they constitute what is called Mahat Brahma, or the Great Brahma. In other words, that is the material creation. All the matter, all the different species, not species, but all matter. As explained in the 7th chapter, beyond this, there is another superior nature, the living entity. Into material nature, the superior nature is mixed by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna will put living entities into the Brahman, the total material substance or matter. Into material nature, the superior nature, the living entity, is mixed by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thereafter, all living entities are born of this material nature. Well, the material nature is supplying, let's say, the substance or the food, and the living entity is eating that food and living. In the material nature, the superior nature is mixed by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thereafter, all living entities are born of this material nature. Now, an example is being given to try and understand what we just read. And Prabhupada writes, the scorpion lays its eggs in piles of rice. And sometimes it is said that the scorpion is born out of rice. But the rice is not the cause of the scorpion. Actually, the eggs were laid by the mother scorpion. Similarly, material nature is not the cause of the birth of the living entities. The seed is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we have what's called the Mahat Brahma, or the Great Brahma, or the total material energy. And into the total material energy, Krishna will inculcate or put living entities. So living entities are not born from material nature. That's the whole point. The living entities are seeds that are put into the total material energy, or the Mahat Tattva, or the great Brahman. As explained in the 7th chapter, beyond this, there is another superior nature, the living entity. Into material nature, the superior nature is mixed by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thereafter, all living entities are born of this material nature. That doesn't mean that the living entities are made of the jivas, but the jivas are created by Krishna, and then they're sustained by the what you would call the material elements. They have to eat. They need sustenance. So that sustenance is not the real cause of the birth of the living entities. It is the living entities are coming from Krishna. But once they come, then they eat different types of foods and whatever, and that's from the Mahatattva, the total material substance. The Supreme Person impregnates that Brahman, or the total material substance, with the seeds of the living entities. The 24 elements, beginning from earth, water, fire, and air, are all material energy, and they constitute what is called Mahat Brahma, or the great Brahman. The material nature, as explained in the 7th chapter, beyond this, there is another superior nature, the living entity. Into material nature, the superior nature is mixed by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thereafter, all living entities are born of this material nature. Okay, so an example is being given now to understand what we just read. The scorpion lays its eggs in piles of rice. Sometimes it is said that the scorpion is born out of rice, but the rice is not the cause of the scorpion. Actually, the eggs were laid by the mother. Similarly, material nature is not the cause of the birth of the living entities. That's what the Mayavadis say, though. That's what the so-called great pundits or mundane materialists, they also say that the living entities are born from matter. But no, not at all. Okay, so as explained in the 7th chapter, beyond this, there is another superior nature, the living entity. Into material nature, the superior nature is mixed by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thereafter, all living entities are born of this material nature. And then the example, the scorpion lays its eggs in piles of rice, and sometimes it is said that the scorpion is born out of rice. But the rice is not the cause of the scorpion. Actually, the eggs were laid by the mother. Similarly, material nature is not the cause of the birth of the living entities. See, now that's the real statement here. The seed is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Mayavadis and materialists, they think that living entities are born from matter. They don't know exactly how it happened, but that's their theory. And that's completely wrong. The material nature is not the cause of the birth of the living entity. See, it's not the cause. The seed is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, the scientists don't say this. They think everything developed from uh, a combination of matter, but they've never proven it. But that's what their theory is. Similarly, material nature is not the cause of the birth of a living entity. The seed is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they only seem to come out as products of material nature. Thus, every living entity, according to his past activities, has a different body created by this material nature, so that the entity can enjoy or suffer according to his past deeds. The Lord is the cause of all manifestations of living entities in this material world. So the scientists will reject that. But the truth is that everything is coming from Krishna. It's not coming from a combination of matter. But, I mean, actually, you can look up what is the theory of the scientists for the uh, development of creatures and human beings. Where did they come from, according to the scientists? What does it say? Where did all the living entities come from?
Scientists have developed several theories about how life began on Earth, though there isn't a single final answer yet.
After 2,000 years of science, they still don't have an answer.
Number one, the primordial soup theory.
Primordial soup. Go ahead.
According to this, the early Earth had a soup of simple molecules like methane, ammonia, hydrogen, water. Energy from lightning, UV radiation, or volcanoes could have triggered chemical
I
reactions.
like that. Could have.
Mhm.
That means speculation.
Yes. These reactions produced organic molecules such as amino acids, the building blocks of proteins. And so, apparently, in 1953, there was a famous experiment by Miller-Urey. Experiment showed that amino acids can form from simple gases when sparked with electricity.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you produce a living entity.
Yeah.
You see, so actually, the scientists don't know.
So there are other theories too.
Okay.
The next theory is hydrothermal vent theory. Life may have started in deep sea
May have. Okay, go ahead.
in deep sea hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor. These vents provide heat, minerals, and chemical gradients perfect for forming complex molecules. Certain bacteria today still thrive in such extreme conditions, suggesting this could have been an origin point.
Could have been.
Hmm.
Well, why don't they go into the depths of the ocean and find this happening? Where's the proof that if it happened in the past, it should happen in the present also? But it didn't happen in the past, and that's why they can't show it in the present. Go ahead.
And then the third thesis is the RNA world hypothesis. Early life may have been based on RNA, not DNA. RNA can both store genetic information and catalyze chemical reactions like enzymes. Later, DNA and proteins evolved as more stable and efficient systems. That's another theory.
Huh?
And then the fourth theory is that panspermia hypothesis. So life might not have started on Earth at all. Instead, it could have come from space, carried by comets, asteroids, or cosmic dust. Meteorites have been found with amino acids and organic compounds. So that's another theory coming from space somewhere. And
Prove
then,
it. Prove it. Science means you have a theory, you try to prove the theory by, uh, you have to prove the theory with by experimentation. Then, if your experimentation validates your theory, then it's real. They've never done that. They've never done any experiment to prove any one of those speculations. Look it up. You mentioned four types of theories that they have.
mhm.
Have they experimented those theories?
Yeah, I mean, they only experiment to create some, like that amino acids being created from gases
Yeah.
that they did, and then but then that they couldn't create life from it.
No.
They're just building blocks.
Therefore, it's not science. You have to prove your theory for it to become science. They've never proven any of those theories.
Scientists have not been able to create true life from scratch, but they have done many partial experiments that recreate steps towards life. One is that Miller-Urey theory experiment. Mixed gases thought to exist on early Earth, like methane, ammonia, hydrogen, water vapor, passed electrical sparks to simulate lightning. After a week, found amino acids and organic molecules, building blocks of proteins. Hydrothermal vent simulation. So they produce some organic compounds apparently from, but they have never created life. No one has created a fully living cell from non-living chemicals alone.
There you are. You're telling the truth. No one has created a living cell.
See, they made these four steps in their thing. They think that it happened in stages. One, simple molecules formed, number one. Number two, they assembled into RNA, DNA, and proteins. Number three, protocells formed with membranes. And number four, true living cells emerged. They're able to reproduce steps one to three in the labs. But step four, the full independent life, is still unsolved.
I mean, they're wasting money. All their research is zero. They don't have anything tangible to show for all their research. They can't even produce one strand of what do you call
Air,
not air.
DNA.
No. Grass.
Mm-hmm.
They can't even make one strand of grass. Has any one of the scientists produced a strand of grass? Ask that question. Have they been able to produce grass? Starting with elements. Starting with elements, yeah. Material elements to produce grass.
Mm-hmm. No.
Huh?
No.
They can't even, Prabhupada said once that they can't even make one strand of grass. So we see that it's a great mystery how, if you try to prove that life comes from chemicals, you'll never succeed.
So they haven't made even a single living cell yet.
Yeah.
So they can't make strands.
It says that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all that research they've done, it only produces plastic things
Mm-hmm.
and other,
Non-living.
yeah, non-living things, but they've never produced anything that's living. But they can produce things from living things. Not a human being, but they can produce something from living entities. But they can't start with matter and produce a living entity. Just like a mother, she can produce a living baby. She doesn't know how it happens, but it happens in her womb. Yeah, the scientists are just bluffing. Just bluffing. After all, after 500 years of serious, what you would call attempts of scientific research that have not been able to produce even one cell living entity. That means that they have to accept the explanation of the Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
if you can't do something, but there's a alternate.
Yeah, it's been centuries of research. It's stalled. I mean, it's not like people are doing any research to get to that anymore. I mean, they kind of are blocked.
Yeah.
They can't figure out what else they need to do at this point. So they kind of gave up that, and then they're just doing all other things.
Making atomic bombs.
Yeah.
They're good at that. More and more lethal weapons. That's what they have really succeeded in.
Hmm.
Unfortunately. Okay. Any questions, my dear devotees? Any
Yes,
questions?
Maharaj. Yes,
Yes,
Maharaj.
go
I'd
ahead,
like to
Maharaj.
ask a question. Hare Krishna. In the purport where it says, as explained in the 7th chapter, beyond this, there is another superior nature, the living entity. In material nature, the superior nature is mixed. Superior nature and material nature, is this body and soul where it says Kshatriya and Kshatriyana, or superior nature, is that Krishna? I was confused because it says, what's that?
Superior nature is referring to living entities.
Yeah.
Living entity.
Yeah.
And then material nature,
It's a non-spiritual energy. Material
so
nature.
that's the flesh.
No flesh involved. It's matter.
I mean, the flesh also comes from matter, right? Because it's made with all the 5 elements.
But it's not a living entity.
Yeah, it's not a living entity, but it's controlled by the body, the mind, the intelligence. Body itself is made with all the gross elements.
Yeah, but
Like
the scientists are not doing that.
Yeah,
They don't know how
they can't create
living entities.
living entities.
Yeah.
So when it says the material nature and the superior nature is mixed, what's
Yeah.
being mixed here? That's the
So that's the living entity is impregnated into, let's say, when the sperm enters into the egg, it's the soul that's actually entering into, and then that's the source of life. It's not the material aspect. There is a spiritual element called living entity that is impregnated along with Paramatma.
so the sperm that's being impregnated, is that the material or the superior?
That is material, but it is carrying spiritual thing. That's carrying that's where Krishna introduces through the agency of sperm, the living entity. But the sperm itself is not, on the physical dimension, it is not.
Sperm is not the living entity.
Yeah, exactly. Sperm is not the living entity, but it carries, or it is carried by the living entity under the guidance of the Paramatma.
Krishna impregnates the living entity
Krishna impregnates.
into the womb of the mother.
Okay, so the womb is the material nature, and then the superior nature is Krishna impregnating.
Yeah.
But he is impregnating by putting a living entity into it. The soul, the Jivatma, is putting that Jivatma into it. So, it's not like, you don't look at the physical dimension. There is another dimension in which the life enters, and then it's controlling all the creation of the life around it, or the matter, like the hands, the legs, the body, everything is forming within the womb. But that's because there is a soul that entered into that womb through the agency of sperm.
Mm.
If that life is not there, that's why some babies die in the womb, some babies die after taking life. into this world. So, but it's not because of the matter. It's because that soul, and under the guidance of Krishna. I mean, Krishna is still overseeing everything.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
The point is that it's not exactly the sperm of the father
Correct.
that produces the baby.
Yeah.
The matter of the sperm is produced by the body, but Krishna inculcates or puts into that sperm the soul.
Soul, exactly. So there is a Bhagavatam verse, Maharaj, that we 331:1 that exactly addresses this. We went through it in the past. 331:1 in Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll read that one. It says, Karmana daivanetrena janturdeho upapadyate striya pravishta udaram pumsa reta kanashraya. So here the translation is, the personality of Godhead Krishna said, under the supervision of the Supreme Lord and according to the results of his work, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of male semen to assume a particular type of body.
There it is.
So this is the direct explanation.
That's chapter 3, what?
Not in the Bhagavad Gita, it's in the Bhagavatam
Oh,
third.
okay, that's right.
Yeah, it's Bhagavatam third canto, 31st chapter.
Yeah.
So this is the direct explanation of how actually it is done. Again, this under the supervision of the Lord. That is, again, the Lord is.
It's not due to the sperm.
Yeah.
And Krishna impregnates into the sperm the living entity.
Exactly. So that is the
Sperm by
explanation.
itself cannot produce a living.
Exactly. So because the Lord is overseeing everything under the supervision of the Supreme Lord, and according to the karma, basically based on the living entity's karma, then the Lord will decide, okay, this living entity has to take a human birth, this living entity has to take whatever, some insect birth, different types of births. So based on that, the soul is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of the male semen. But the male semen itself doesn't have the life. It's the living entity by Krishna is put. It's almost like, the soul is riding on the semen. But it's the soul that enters into the womb.
Obviously, you can't see what's happening.
Yeah.
You can put a microscope, but you won't see what's happening.
Yeah, this is happening in a different dimension.
Because the soul is small, and it's the size of the small is smaller than an atom.
Yeah.
So how can you see it?
It's 1/10,000
A tip of a hair.
tip of the hair.
You take one hair, cut it longitudinally, really thin. So that's 1/100th of the hair. Then you take 1/100th and cut it again 100 times longitudinally. That's that's 1/100th of the tip of the hair.
I mean, in fact, how does the semen know to travel? That's because of the soul. and the Paramatma. Because,
Paramatma.
yeah. So here in the purport of the other Bhagavatam, in order to give a particular type of human form to a person who has already suffered hellish life, the soul is transferred to the semen of a man who is just suitable to become his father. During the sexual intercourse, the soul is transferred through the semen of the father into the mother's womb in order to produce a particular type of body. This process is applicable to all embodied living entities, but is especially mentioned for the man who was transferred to the Andatamishra hell. After suffering there, when he who has had many types of hellish bodies, like those of dogs and hogs, is to come again into human form, he is given the chance to take his birth in the same type of body from which he degraded himself to hell. So we started on the human life and then went down, and then we come back. We get the chance to recover from this.
That takes a long time.
Yeah,
It could take
8
millions
millions of years. Imagine, like, if you become like a whale or something, how many hundreds of years you live. Some trees live thousands of years.
Yeah.
So everything is done by the supervision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Material nature supplies the body, but it does so under the direction of the Super Soul. It is said in Bhagavad Gita that a living entity is wandering in this material world on a chariot made by material nature. The Supreme Lord, the Super Soul, is always present with the individual soul. He directs material nature to supply a particular type of body to the individual soul according to the results of his work, and the material nature supplies it.
See, now let's stop right there. Whenever you see a newborn baby, it's a miracle. That little body has everything: eggs, eyes, ears, nose, skin, legs, everything. Perfectly made. And it's going to grow. And it's a miracle. Nobody can emulate that. Nobody.
Yep.
And it's happening right in the body of the mother. She doesn't know how it's happening either. These are all mysterious things. But they're mysterious, but they are what you would call uh, miracles. Try and make a baby yourself. You would not be able to do it. You can bring in all the science, all the chemicals, everything. You won't be able to do it. Therefore, you have to admit that there is a supreme personality of God. Every time there's a baby born, that defeats all the theories of the so-called scientists. They can't do that. They don't know how to do that. They can't even make an ant. They can't even make uh, even a blade of grass. Therefore, you have to admit that there is a superior nature, a superior knowledge, and that's God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They have no other explanation. They have no first of all, they have no explanation. That's the point. All the research they've done the last 500 years, they still haven't figured out how the living entity is born. They have a lot of theories, but they don't have the knowledge. Why? Because you can't see the soul. The soul is smaller than an atom. Then how would they be able to even see it? And the living entity begins as a soul. So it's impossible for them to understand how this is happening. When you see a little baby, it's already been erected, it's already been born with all the different things, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, everything. They don't know how to do that. They can't even come close to doing anything like that. Because they cannot do anything like that, they have to admit that there's a God, and He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and He has all that knowledge. When you come up to a dead end, where you have no real substantive knowledge of how the soul is, existing and being produced, then you have to admit there's God. That's the proof that there's God. Now, the scientists are doing everything they can to try and produce life, but they never are able to do it. They can do a few things, but they don't come up with a living entity. Therefore, they have to admit that there's God.
Yeah. So they're able to manipulate the material aspects only. That's all they did.
Yeah.
But they, according to this verse, it's Krishna who's bringing the living entity and impregnating into that. So that scientists don't have control
You
of.
can't even see it.
Yeah, you can't even see. You can't.
Even the
Touch
best
it, you can-
microscope cannot show you what's going on, what's happening.
Yeah.
It's too small.
It's not only small, it's also not something that is material, right? So they can't use anything material to experience it. So they won't be able to see it even if they have.
Well, they'll never see the soul, but they can see the body.
Yeah.
At a certain point. This is wonderful.
That's why Krishna says, I'm the seed-giving father.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. He's that father who's carrying the seed into the womb of the mother, the soul, basically.
Not only human beings, how about all the animals?
Yeah.
Insects, birds. He's the seed-giving father of all living entities.
And that's Paramatma. Or
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the super soul. That's what we read, right? I mean, Krishna in the form of Paramatma is overseeing all of this.
yeah.
And when you think about it, it makes your heart clean. You realize, no one will ever be able to do this. Only Krishna can do it. It makes you humble.
And that's the truth. 99.99999% of the people don't know, and they're
not
under the illusion.
They're not talking about these things.
Yeah, and that's the Maya.
Yeah.
The Maya makes them ignorant of the truth.
Well, they can tell you a lot about baseball and football.
Yes.
But they don't know anything about how the little entity is produced. Even the mother doesn't. She doesn't know how it's happening. It's happening in her body, but she doesn't know how it's happening. Haribo, my dear devotees, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
The proof that there is God is the following. No scientist can produce a living entity, but somebody has made it,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That means there's God.
Exactly.
It's very simple. It's not complicated. That's the proof that there's God. Yeah, the scientists can make, cars, rockets, guns, all kinds of things like that, but they can't make a living entity. They can make robots. They can make robots, but that's not a living entity. Okay, thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada. All voices, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna
Krishna Hare
Mantra ki jai.
Jai.
Okay, my dear devotees, have a good evening. And I'm going to go to the temple now. If I have arrived, do I have arrived?
Because there is actually a program going on, so we cannot.
Oh, in the